All right, guys, what's up? Welcome back to the Eight Limbs podcast. We are here today with Chad Vaughan. Chad is an Orlando real estate agent that has an incredible social media presence. He's also a dad, a family man. He's a client of Eight Limbs Creative, my media business. And so far, he's been a great person to deal with as far as a client, but really just to watch on social media. I feel like Chad's got a lot he can teach on how he approaches the social media content creation game. And I'm really glad to have you here today, man. How you doing?
Thanks, man. I'm doing well. I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. Yeah. So kicking off right off the bat, Chad, um, let's talk about your business in real estate. Where are you based? Let's talk about what you do.
Yeah, I am in Orlando, Florida. I've been licensed since 2018, so just before the world went bonkers. And I started as a part-time agent, started on social media, and since then I've really grown my business and continued to through Instagram.
Yeah, I love it. That's actually how we connected, I believe, originally. Is
Mhm.
you found our business through Instagram, which is the beauty of
Yeah,
social
that's
media,
right.
right? You're able to find. And that was shortly after my company had expanded to Orlando. So Chad was our first Orlando client. It was awesome.
Oh,
So
it
when
was?
it
I didn't know that.
you
Do I get
were,
like a badge or something?
yeah, you were. We brag about you all the time. You get a bragging badge. So when we work with Chad, one thing I noticed about him is he's got a lot of like enthusiasm on the social media. So when he's in front of one of our lenses, if you guys will see the media, Chad's always great at entertaining the camera. He'll do some body language, some gestures. He's not afraid to be. He's not just stiff. And then through Chad's social media with the reels that he makes and the content, it's very infotainment, which is what we push a lot of here. So it's not just about me, why I'm so amazing as a real estate agent. It's more about here's how I can help you guys, show you that I know what I'm doing in the business, and then people will end up liking him and usually becoming a client. So let's talk about like the strategy behind how you create your content and what goes into it. This episode of the Aliens Podcast is brought to you by 7-Day Social Realtor, your one-stop shop for all things real estate social media. It is an all-included course that teaches you how to shoot content, how to utilize content, how to make viral reels, and how to actually get yourself new leads and new listings with content in social media. You can find them at 7-Day Social Realtor on Instagram as well as 7daysocialrealtor.com. Use code 8limbs for 10% off.
Yeah, so I mean, like you said, it's very much infotainment. So the goal is to be entertaining, and we always say that we want to provide value, but I don't think a lot of people actually explain what that actually means. It's a fun catchphrase, but what does it mean in
Right.
practicality? So part of it is educational. So there's things that are happening in the market, especially right now. The market is changing so quickly. 2 weeks ago, the market was vastly different than it is today. So the average consumer that may or may not be in tune with that, but is curious, is looking for information, is looking for a trusted source to tell them. But if they wanted just numbers, they would go to CNBC. But there's an entertainment about it that we can make things entertaining, we can make things captivating, and digestible. Because the reality is that is how people consume information now. It is in quick little sound bites that are entertaining, that are informational. So that's always been the goal, is to provide value in a way that is not annoying or boring.
Right. And that's great. That's a great way you said that. And that is so true. It's like they could go to the news if they just wanted numbers, right? But it's not that. We always explain, like, first of all, one thing people don't really want to do anymore is read. So
Yeah.
they don't want to have to read articles. And if you can break that down, and like that's your job as a real estate agent. A lot of you guys think like you can say, oh, well, if they wanted that information, they can just go read it here. It's like, no, they want you to go read the information, digest it, break it down, and then translate it to them in video form. Again, that's what you're a professional in, and that's what they're going to relate to you at. So I think you do a great job with
That's
it.
right.
And then so you do make sure you get the infotainment style where you're like, hey, like here's information. I think one of the videos I saw that I thought was very well played was when you made a video about a keychain to your keys in the
Yeah.
lockbox, which obviously we're a media agency. We deal
Yeah.
with a lot of lockboxes too, right? It's so true, right? What he's talking about is real, and agents know, and obviously real estate photographers know. It's like you're digging them out sometimes, and or you don't think it's in there, and then it's stuck in somewhere. So that kind of stuff's great. But then you also do a fair amount of like skit humor reels too, which is great because you're mixing that in. So it's like Chad's got information. Here's how I can help you. Other side of it, it's just like what we call, it's a skit. It's an audio remake where you're voiceovering something, and like you're funny with that stuff. So it's like I think people, if someone comes across Chad's page they would get this feel right away, like, oh, this guy doesn't take himself too serious. He'd be a relatable, enjoyable person to interact in a transaction with. And I think that's so huge, because what we see a lot of, especially here in like the Tampa area, is agents try to act like they're a CEO executive, where you can't get in touch with them. You got to go through 7 assistants to get on the phone with them. And they're just so serious, or their women are like, basically they're one step away from being a Playboy bunny. And it's like, how is that going to invite a client to find relatability in you? Right. I don't understand how that works, you know? So
Well,
what's your
most
thought
people
on?
just most people don't care, and most people are not impressed. And there are literally 0 people that go onto social media platforms to find a real estate agent. That is not the goal. The goal on social media is to connect with other people. It's to be entertained. For most people, it's to escape. So they'll get on social media, they'll scroll, they want to laugh, they want a few minutes that is not bombarded by whatever pressures and issues it is that they're dealing with in their life. So I feel like giving people a glimpse into our personality, we're building relationship that way. It is a passive way to build a relationship, that you're connecting with people in deep and meaningful ways without necessarily even interacting face to face or voice to voice or anything. So by giving glimpses into our personal lives and into personality, that's a really big deal. And it's always been my philosophy when I look at anything that I'm putting out, or just the way that I interact with my clients, even like in real life, is I don't want to be that real estate agent. I want them to think of me as their friend Chad that sells real estate. I want to lead with that. Real estate agents are a dime a dozen. If you want a great real estate agent, you can probably reach out and slap one at any given moment. But what people want is somebody that they know, like, and trust first. So that is more important than being the best for the average consumer. So I don't need to show or demonstrate or showboat that I am the best, because frankly, I'm not. But what I am is I'm the right flavor for my right clients. That's right.
Yeah, perfectly said. I like that term. First of all, the best is completely relative. So there is no such 100%. Thing as the best, in my opinion. Like, even if you go to, I think when you think about the standard of real estate agents, like one guy that kills it is Ryan Serhant. He's always on the top of the list. He does great social media, but it's like, what does it mean he's the best? Like, he might be one of the best known now, which does equate high payments. So we always explain that in our seminars that I teach for real estate agents to market. It's like, people spend their time saying, hey, I'm the best agent, but it's not the best who wins. It's the most well-known who wins. Yeah. And how do you get well-known is getting attention. How do you get attention? By making content people actually like to see. So that's one of the biggest disconnects in real estate media and social media, is that agents make contents egocentric and not value-centric. And so they're just like, hey, this is about me. Here's what I do. Here's how I am. Here's how hot I am. Here's how this. And it's like, that's not what your client cares about. And especially, it's going to reject, like, if you're a female agent, you're going to reject the wives of these couples who are like, we're not working with her, right? Because that process can be a lot of interactions. If you're thinking about doing a deal with someone, selling their property, you're most likely going to speak to them and being person with them more than once. It's going to be a process. Sometimes it can be multiple interactions. So I think that when they get a feel for someone's personality, when you really think, especially if they've done real estate before and had a non-pleasurable experience, this is from the seller buyer's perspective, they're going to be like, okay, we realize now, like, the experience is everything. And I know this for a fact, like, when someone's a pleasure to deal with, you look forward to dealing with them. Right. So you're like, yeah, great. Like, we're going to call Chad. He's going to get this thing sold. He's going to find us a place. He'll find us a new investment property, because we love how he gets back to us. So they can feel that through social media versus just looking at stats and numbers. And then sometimes you can get a client or clients or agent can get a client with impressive numbers and impressive stats. But then when they get that person inside the transaction, that person's like, this is not who I thought I was going to be dealing with.
Yeah.
Right. And so then it ends up, as it ends, the deal might be done, but that person isn't a raving fan of yours. And so because they didn't know who they were getting into business with. So one of the biggest things about what you said there to unpack is that showing your personality on video is imperative, because you want people to know who they're dealing with. That's why it all works out in real estate, where he did say, yes, there are, and the number specifically is 256,000 agents in Florida. And obviously I looked this up a lot because I sell products to agents, but there are so many of them. but there's a lot of buyers and a lot of sellers too. So when you think about that, is your job is to show who you are and show how you can be of value. The client will pick, right? And it's never something to be like, oh, I can't believe they got that listing. If the listing was supposed to be yours, it would have been yours. You would have attracted it. That person would have found you in social media. And so it's like what you're doing is what can be done. Here's who I am. And if you want to work with me, you find me. So I think you do a great job with it. Getting into the social media side of it too, how do you capture people through that? Like how would they go through the process? They find you on social media. Do they just message you directly? Do you have links and things that you offer them?
All of the above. So I like to make it as frictionless as possible. So yeah, for sure, there's links within my bio for people to take the next step in whatever process it is. So the easiest way for them to engage is they can just throw their email into my biweekly newsletter, and that's an email capture, and that begins our relationship as well. And that's a really important place where I build relationship with my potential or future clients or referral partners or whatever. That's an opportunity for me I get personal with them. I share business stuff, share stuff about the market. So there's that. There's all links to my calendar. A lot of people, honestly, what I have found is most people will just DM and say, hey, I've been following you for 6 months, been following you for a year. We're ready to buy. We're ready to sell. I like the way that you present online. Just honestly, in the last 2 weeks, I've had 4 different buyers send me a DM and say, hey, we're looking to move to Orlando. We've been looking up Orlando realtors and we'd like to work with you. And we set up a buyer consultation and get the thing going. So
That's awesome.
Most of it is just happening very, very organically.
Yep. Yeah. And that's what it is, right? It's like, there's this disconnect that it's like in all things, right? Like once you've seen something, but the ones who see it don't understand what's not possible. So I was just explaining to someone at this real estate convention I was at last night, where it's like 3 years ago, I moved here to St. Petersburg and I started meeting people that I wasn't around in the town before, which was Lakeland. I started meeting 30-year-old internet millionaires that have incredible businesses built out that are very passive. And I call these people expanders. So once I started talking to them, I was like, that's how you did that? That's what you do for that? And like my mind was just, this can be done. How many more things do I think are going to be more complicated and they aren't or work out like that, right? And so I think like with social media, you're creating Instagram reels and content and you're getting organic leads into your business based on just who you are. The one thing you have that no one has, which is you're better at being Chad Vaughan than anyone else. So it's like you're using.
Ain't nobody else better.
That's it. Ain't nobody better at that. But a lot of people think like, oh no, that's right. You got to buy leads, you got to door knock, you got to cold call. Those are great to do. I highly suggest making use of your time. So when I criticize door knocking and cold calling, I'm not doing that saying you shouldn't. What I'm doing is saying this should be done after you at least create your daily social media content. Create your content, do the first thing you can do. Then yeah, of course, if you have 3 hours, don't sit there and watch Netflix, cold call a little bit. Get out in the world and meet people. But I think it's so huge to see that when you're able to bring people in like that and use the biggest tool we have, which is the internet, at our disposal.
100%.
So let's talk about real estate business now. I love to ask this question to agents. What is one of the weirdest or funniest things that have ever happened during a showing, during a listing appointment? You don't have to give names away. But are there any stories that stick out for you?
There's been some interesting ones. It's always it always happens to be like there's a tenant in the house. It's always a surprise tenant.
Because they don't care about the house being sold.
They don't care, and there's often a disconnect between who's actually scheduling the showing and then who's actually there for the showing. I remember one time we went into a house and there were swords everywhere, like on the wall, which I guess is like, I don't know, very medieval and cool. If that's your thing, which is fine. Good. So it was a little sus from the beginning. And then we started walking around and it sounded like there might've been somebody in the house. And sure enough, a guy comes out of the bathroom in a towel who had just gotten out of the shower. So that was a little uncomfortable.
Did you have buyers in the house?
Oh yeah, we did. We left right away. We didn't want to get like a sword fight, so we dipped. But yeah, I mean, there's always been some weird and some there's interesting situations all the time.
That's hilarious. We had an agent one time that we were doing a batch reel, like a branding session, and we were asking this question to him. And he said he showed up at a buyer's one time. It's kind of a similar story, actually. But the gentleman who owned the home was in the kitchen in underwear cooking dinner. And when they walked in, it's like, no, guys, come on. I got food for everyone. And it's like, my buyer.
Totally normal.
He's like, my buyers, who I looked back at and we're like, I'm so sorry. We're like, no, that's good. They walked right into this man's kitchen and began to eat the food that he offered them. He's like, they struck up an hour-long conversation and they bought the house. He's like, this guy, he's like, at one point, he was like, I probably should put some pants on. And then the agent was like, yeah, you should. You should definitely do that.
Yeah.
Go. But it's like, it just happened so naturally. Like, I would have never imagined it would have been that smooth, and it just actually worked out. So it's like, it was just, I was along for the ride. It's really, really funny.
You know?
And so what type of clients do you think you deal with the most right now? Do you deal with clients that are just selling single family no residence, which is most agents' bread and butter?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it buyers looking to move from up north to Florida?
I kind of have an interesting bag right now. So I've had a number of listings recently, and it's cool where I'm at in business. I'm starting to see a lot of my former buyers become sellers now,
Cool.
or referring their family members or referring their friends and stuff like that. So that's very cool. And I'm dealing with a lot of first-time buyers right now, which I love. And I think that, the market right now is so unique and so interesting. And it's changing so rapidly, like I said before. But it's a really interesting moment and opportunity especially for first-time buyers who are ready financially to enter the market. So actually, I'm dealing with a lot of first-time buyers at the moment.
I love it. Yeah, a lot of people too don't typically love working with buyers, but there's occasional ones who do like it, and they're like, "No, I love it." Like, and I think one of the reasons is because, and tell me if I'm wrong, but you can build much more of a relationship through the process, right?
Yeah.
So after you find a buyer their house, like, you've dealt with them, you've shown them properties, you've gotten to know who they are, what they're into, what their needs are, a little bit more than the sellers, which is just like, yo, how much money can you make me on this house, Chad? And that's a good position to be in too. Like, let me get my magic working. But I think you can build that lifelong clientele relationship, right?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, you're spending much more time with the buyer than you are with the seller. So there should be at least a significant amount of communication either way. But with the buyers, you're going out to see properties, you're walking through the process. There's probably going to be some significant ups and downs in the process. So it's not just transactional. You're kind of coaching them through the whole process of that up and the down. And there's certainly some elements of counseling to it too. So there's certainly a deepening of the relationship specifically with buyers.
Yeah, I love it. One of the things that you do very well too, and I want to get your insight on why that is you utilize professional video when you sell properties. And it's this dilemma now where I think every agent knows that video is the way to list your property, but we do like to be honest and explain it like this: like, photography will sell the house, but video sells the agent. And video oftentimes will also sell a property. We have a closing today that I'm on a partnership with, where it's a $4.9 million listing that the video specifically is why this listing was sold. And so we're going to do a client testimonial for the buyers. And I'm going to get them to say that on camera. Hey guys, let's talk about why you found this house. Obviously the YouTube video, but what is it that when did you start to realize that? And what have you seen the benefit of video? Especially, like, one thing that you do is, I love that you do this too. You get one of our services that we provide is called a follow-through reel. And Chad always orders that service, gets it. It's a very fun interactive video. And then Chad actually adds his own animated graphics over the reel, which is additional branding, which I love. So, what is the reason why you go into video so heavily?
Well, I mean, to your point, that's just how people are consuming everything right now. So it's, the video is more immersive, it's more engaging than just a static photo. And that's just how people are becoming more acclimated and used to consuming any and all content now. And so especially through the social media platforms, the algorithms and things like that are always changing, but the truth remains the same, that short form video is still very much favored on most platforms. So just simply for exposure for the listing, that's critical. And then to your point, it's also exposure for me as the agent. So the primary goal with each session is to sell the house. The secondary goal, though, is to sell myself. And so it's always, any agent knows that with any listing, your goal is to generate additional listings and additional business. So for the same reason that I'm putting out other sort of content, like the infotainment type of stuff, it's my goal with each piece of content is to be marketing to the next potential seller, because that every seller is going to, they may not be finding people on Instagram, like I said, but they do their deep dive and they do their due diligence on Instagram and all the social media platforms.
Yeah,
So
they
are
noticed.
going back to look at how. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just chiming in. They said, yeah, they noticed. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead, continue.
No, you're good. But yeah, that's where they're going to do their homework and find out about you. And if you are not marketing other properties well and to a high degree, then why would they think that you're going to do theirs any better? So it's important to me that whether the listing is a very high value or it's on the lower end of the price point, they all get the same treatment. I don't care. I treat all of my clients exactly how I think they should be treated, because regardless of whether it's a $200,000 house or an $800 million, whatever, for these folks, this is their biggest investment and this is a big deal for them. So regardless of the price point, I want to honor that commitment and honor their trust in me by doing it really well, and hopefully spin that into additional business down the line.
You said it so well that I have to unpack like 4 things there. So going back, 1, exactly true what you just said there, which is that it is one of the biggest investments and biggest, monetary movements that someone will ever have. Like for an agent, a house that's $400,000 might not be a huge deal for them to sell that, because their commission is going to be on the lower end of their commissions. However, if that's a young couple, that's their biggest chunk of equity they have in anything. So what they have an opportunity. And so I always talk about this a lot. And this is where I started just to notice a little bit of a lack of integrity in real estate, which would be like, if an agent could make their client $5,000 to $10,000 more, but they had to pay more of their own pocket to market a little better or work harder, they usually will not do that. The bad ones won't. They'll just price reduce until they can get a point where they sell the house, they get their couple thousand, because that incremental increase in commission doesn't do much for them, but it does a lot for that seller. And so with the agents that we work with, so what you said there, which I appreciate, which is that you do the same amount of marketing and media on any home. And that's what our good agents do in our business. And it's so cool having the statistics that Limbs Creative. We have a payment processing system, so we're able to look at yearly data, and it's really cool. So we can look up like brokerage representation. What's the most dominant brokers we have? Who's our most dominant agent? How many agents who do or agents who do just photography? How many listings they list a month because they're using us? Agents who do video, right? And it is hands down so skewed. The agents who do full package are way more listing volume monthly. So that does work because of the audition principle. Every time you sell a house as an agent, you're auditioning. So you think of the concept of frequency illusion, right? If you're about to go buy, for instance, when I was about to buy my Ford Raptor, I thought it was a rare truck. And then I started noticing Ford Raptors everywhere and every parking lot, and constantly I was seeing them. If you're looking at a new guitar, you're going to need, so it's frequency illusion. So if you're someone that's about to sell your home, or you're thinking about selling your home, and your neighbor down the street lists with Chad Vaughan. Now, Chad Vaughan does a full video package for that, and he's got door hangers hanging up there.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I have no idea what that was about. My apologies, but we're going to cut that section out. No one will ever know what happened. So you go. Frequency illusion. When you think about frequency illusion, these people that are about to sell their home, they're going to see everything a realtor is doing. They're really paying attention. So the way I explain that is like if you're down the street neighbor lists with Chad Vaughan, well, now you're going to start seeing probably Chad's signs in the yard. Now you're paying attention. What is Chad doing to sell Johnny and Susie's property? Neighborhood probably has a Facebook group. They're probably going to see Chad's videos on Facebook. They're going to see the amount of media Chad puts in. And now they're paying attention to everything, where the month before they would pay attention to very little. So every time you sell a property, it is your audition to sell the next. And that's kind of what we explain. Like when you list with video, you're almost guaranteeing your next listing. 2 reasons. 1, you're saying, hey guys, when I sell your house, this is how hard I'll go for you, right? I'm not just going to bring my iPhone and take shots. 2, hey guys, this content never goes away. So if someone wants to look up, this is what we talk about a lot. If someone wants to look up an agent rate, them's creative, and they go to the social media that's done right, they're going to find a lot of things they've done. Their YouTube should have all their videos. Their Instagram should have videos. So you can see this person has done a lot of media for their clients before, and it gives them this trust in going, what are they thinking about? How can this best benefit me? So the message to the client is, if I list with this agent, they're going to help me do the best they can to get the most money out of the property. And that really does matter to these people, a lot more than a lot of people think it does. So it's cool to see that you do that and you look at it like that. Well, you know, we would dive into, Chad, like we would do, you know, our standard media package is our fly package. And that's what majority of our agents use for everything because it's so inclusive. But when we would have an agent that would sell a house in 3, 4, 5, sometimes $15 million, they would try to leverage that same package. Now we're like, hey guys, like this is so much of a bigger house and there's so many more details. Obviously, this is not the same package, but they would try to skimp that. And it's like, there's no way that in the same time frame you can cover a house that's that large in those listing markets. So media matters, but the scale of media matters. When it's a single family home, you can cover it pretty simply, but when it's not, there's more that's needed. So we've offered a different service now at Income's Creative, where I will actually come in as a marketing partner and I will do multiple videos on a property, whatever is needed to sell it, but we don't get paid till the house closes. So we're risking our own self saying, hey, we know what it takes to sell a house media wise, and we'll do that for them. So anyways, I love it. I love how hard you go for the social media side. Have you had agents or sellers that have like really loved your videos that you've made?
Yeah, I mean, they always do. And that's, you know, kind of to your point where it's creates that omnipresence. The sellers get excited about it and they will share that content. They're sharing it to their, and I encourage them to, yeah, hey, share it on your neighborhood Facebook group and next door to your friends, your family, your coworkers, whatever. And so that helps to market the property. But again, what helps the property also helps me as the agent. So it's doing double timing, you know, on what it's accomplishing. So yeah, they always love it. They get excited. I've had buyers or sellers recently too, where, you know, they started to see the reels and like, I can't wait to see the video that you make on my house.
Right.
I know it's going to be hyped on it, you know, and, so it's cool. They get very excited and they're very invested in it, and they effectively become a marketing partner, which is great.
Exactly. You give them something to get excited about. We talk about this all the time. Like, guys, like you're featuring their house. So if you can, we encourage people, especially in the follow reels, like bring your sellers into that. Like we had a client once that did this so well, as she had the seller who was home was like, I want to be in the video. So in the follow through reel, the seller was in the shower with a hairnet on. And so the agent walks into the kitchen and she has 2 champagne glasses and she pours 2 glasses of champagne and she's leading you through the house and you're wondering who the second glass is for. And as she gets into the master bathroom, she just kind of peeks behind the door so you don't see any nudity, but you just see this shower cap and she's like, oh my God. And she grabs the champagne. And it was a very funny video, but the seller was in it. And then later the agent's like, that was the coolest thing ever because she blasted that all over everything and found the buyer like that. So it's like, that's how it works when you can incorporate them and it gets them excited, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So how do you balance dad life and business life if it ever gets balanced?
I don't, you know, there are seasons where it's busier in terms of work. Like, I mean, right now my plate has been fuller than it has been in quite a while. You know, so that does mean that I am working later. I'm working more on the weekends, that there's more evenings and mornings and stuff that I'm more occupied than I have been maybe in the last couple of months. But it's always a trade-off. You know, there are down times. And so I think as an agent, our natural tendency, mine at least, is to, when those seasons of slowness come, is to get concerned or worried. But the reality is, if you've been doing the things that you need to do consistently and you don't stop doing them consistently, the business always comes. It always comes in waves. So I try to ride the wave, recognize where I'm at. And I think a big part of that too is having open, honest dialogue with my family. You know, so my wife has been probably definitely is the most supportive person in terms of my business, hands down. So there's always an understanding and a recognition of when these seasons and these moments come where it's a lot. It's not just a burden on me, but it's a burden on her. So it takes us communicating and working together to kind of make that happen. And it's, for me, also seeking out opportunities where, as a dad, making sure that I am as present as I possibly can be, and that my family is still a priority, because ultimately it is. Houses will come and go, clients will come and go, but I will forever and always be accountable to my family. So that is number one.
Yeah, very well said, man. I love that. And it's true. Like, the seasons do flow. So some weeks you're going to be really busy and you're going to have less time. And sometimes you're going to have a lot. So that's the beauty for sure that I love, like, being an entrepreneur, is that, I have a 50-50 custody of my daughter. So when I have her, I can schedule myself to be very, very present with her. And the days that I do not, I can schedule myself to be very present with work. And of course I can work when I have her, but I love that ability that I can just go on a random Tuesday and take her to the beach and be there during the day. So it is important to be with the kids.
Exactly.
I see a lot of people that they get caught up in the hustle too much. And I feel like, man, like, it's going to slip by. Your kids are going to be 16 before you know it. And they're going to have one of those stories one day where they're on a podcast and they're talking about their absent dad. And I was like, we can really avoid that one. So
yeah, it's such a finite time that we get with them at this age, So, and I think, to your point too, incorporating them. Like, my daughter was home from school the other day, actually at our last shoot. So I took her with me, and she was there, and she loved it. Like, it was fun for her. So it's where there can be a marriage of the two. That's a cool thing as well.
That's cool. I didn't even know that. We should have had her on the video. I didn't realize that.
She was right behind him the whole time.
When it comes to the real estate side in Orlando too, a question I just thought of is, like, do you have a lot of, like, the Disney people that are looking to relocate because of Disney? Have you dealt with that yet?
Yeah, I've had a few. Yeah, I've had some that have specifically come to Central Florida for Disney. I've had people that probably are not motivated by Disney, but it's certainly a deal sweetener. But yeah, I've dealt with a number of families that have come here specifically to be close to Disney World.
Love it. Where's one of the premier areas in that area over there? So I grew up in the area, but I don't know. Like, when I think about Orlando, I think about the highway district. So I don't, like, when I've exited to go somewhere, I didn't spend enough time in the neighborhoods, the restaurants, the communities. We've shot properties, but again, like, you're the expert up there. Where's some of the best areas, like our top three, right? Where, like, to live here, you're gonna have a great lifestyle.
Yeah, I think it all really depends on what it is that you're looking for, So, like, in Davenport, there's a lot of opportunity. In Champions Gate, that's a very big vacation opportunity. So probably not a lot of primary residents there, but Winter Garden and Windermere, kind of the surrounding areas. There's a lot of really great communities in like Horizons West. There's a lot of areas that are popping up in that area that are supporting residential communities. There's a lot of opportunity for folks, and there's so many different flavors and price points depending on what people want.
Yeah, that's so true. We actually just did Champions Gate. So one of the services that 8 Limbs just recently launched, which is great, is we do a new package called the teleport package. And so the idea of the package is that you'll show a listing as normal. So you basically get a fly package of the listing. But in addition to that, we weave that video into a full community tour. So it's about a 4-hour shoot. But we just did Champions Gate. So the agent's selling her client's Airbnb property to be probably used as an Airbnb as well. So she explains, we toured the entire Champions Gate area, everything about it. We did surrounding areas, we show. So she's able to, like, YouTube that and be like, hey, here's what you get with this, but here's what the entire area holds. And I didn't know a lot about Champions Gate before that. So after watching that back, I was like, it's a really cool area over there. It's like a small little town.
Yeah, 100%. Oh, it is. Yeah. And there's so many places like that in the area. So there's a lot of really cool little spots.
Yeah, I love that. Where are you from? Are you from Orlando originally, Chad?
I'm not. No, I was born in Georgia. Lived in different places, but I grew up in West Palm Beach. So I grew up in Florida, and then we moved here 5 or 6 years ago. we were supposed to only be here for like 6 months, and here we are 6 years later. So
Did Orlando just stuck you in? You loved it too much, or did something this life lead you to stay?
no, life just kind of changed. We had different plans. My wife and I were both working from home, and so we were very flexible. And we ended up coming here for a couple of months. We intended to go and move to the Carolinas, and then things just changed. Plans changed, and then we got sucked in, and now I definitely can't leave.
Yeah, you're in there now. You're an Orlando agent.
I'm stuck, man.
What better places to be, or sorry, there's worse places to be besides stuck in Orlando,
100%. Yeah. There's a lot of people that spend a lot of money and a lot of time and effort to get here for a week. So for us to live here is a pretty cool deal.
So right off the bat, you're talking to a brand new agent here. They're just getting started in the business, and they're looking at you and like, Chad, like, what's one of my first action steps? I just got licensed to sign with the brokerage. What advice do you go back and give day one agent?
It's a great question. First of all, I think you need to identify somebody that you trust with a business that you would like to emulate, and listen to them and do the things that they would recommend that you do. I think you need to try a lot of different things to kind of find your speed in the business. You mentioned before about cold calling and door knocking, and there's a lot of ways to build your real estate business, and they all work. They do all work. That's the thing. But they only work when you work them at a high level and with a consistent pace, and with a lot of effort. So I think a lot of agents come in brand new and they do want to utilize social media, and they expect to post here, there, for a short period of time and generate business. But that is not how this works. It takes a lot of time, and it takes a lot of consistency. So the biggest thing is to get out, get your hands dirty. You will not generate a business purely through Instagram. You also need to go to open houses. You need to be meeting with people and talking to people. It's not just a post and ghost and then leads rain from the ceiling. That would be a beautiful thing, but it's not how it works.
Yeah, I do agree with that. That's something like I did struggle with that. So 10 years I've owned a digital marketing company, and I do believe I'm pretty good at digital marketing. Even just last night, I went to a large real estate convention, and and this happens a lot, but last night happened more than ever, where people were standing there and I was introduced to them by someone else. And all they said, "Oh, I know who you are. I see your stuff all over my phone. I'm always seeing your stuff." I'm like, cool. So it works, but it's still so important. So my point is, I used to say, hey, I'm marketing digitally. I don't need to go to networking events. I don't need to go in person. I don't need to have business cards. If they want to find me, they know where to find me, which is true. And they do know where to find us, and they can find us. However, when I reread Grant Cardone's book, 10X Rule, and this concept about being omnipresent, and he was really, and it was like, feel like I was being targeted. He's like, you need to be in the world. He's like, all your digital marketing won't do shit for you if people never see your face. They never get a chance to feel your presence. And so then I'm realizing now, it's like when I've done my job early and I've digitally marketed to my clients or to my people, the world, and then I show up in person, and then I'm in a room and I have a 5-minute conversation, shake their hand, talk to them. The next day they start calling you, hey, got a new listing coming up. And I'm like, wow, that's all it takes. They seem to meet you to feel like, hey, this is a relatable person. This isn't some internet celebrity, because it can feel like that, disconnected. So being in person is a huge way to get that rapport. And that's the whole point of omnipresence, where it's like, I wouldn't ever suggest doing one or the other. I'd always suggest doing both. Like if you're always everywhere in person, but then they leave and they can forget about you because they're not seeing you. But if they met someone in person and then they see one of your videos later, you're sealed in their brain, on the screen of their mind, and they're going to be able to contact you. And that's really the whole message here. When, we're talking about real estate, social media, or any kind of business marketing, is that you just want to make it impossible for your potential client to not think of you when they think about that thing that you do. So if you do your job right, whether it's carpentry, you do details for auto shops, whatever it is, I see a lot of people doing it well in any industries. I know a guy who's a mobile window tinter. Looks like he's running a hell of a business because he's just marketing so hard. He tints all these exotic cars and goes to dealerships. They just think of this thing, and then, right, Tyler, Chad, Tony, right? They're thinking of these people because you're dominating that industry for them in their mind. That's really our goal here. And and we'll leave it with this. I talked about this last night when I was speaking at this event, is that if you truly believe that you can provide a good service to your clients, and I'm really talking to real estate agents here, but this could apply to any industry. You believe, hey guys, I will help you find the best house for you and get the best deal for you. Or especially on the seller side, I'm going to help you sell your house and get the most money out. And you truly believe deep down that you are going to operate with integrity and do the best professional job that you can do for them, which hopefully you do, then it's unethical to not outmarket the other agents because the risk is you're going to allow them to work with someone else that just dupes them. And you made a video once that's very perfect, which says, something like 80% of people work with the first agent they speak to.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the whole point. So think about that. 80%. And we're talking to two people. Chad's very savvy, very clever, very educated. So Chad's not the kind of guy that's going to get taken advantage of, I'm sure. But someone like my mother or some 50-year-old couple who's pretty naive, they can easily get taken advantage of by a sharky quick agent that just happens to get there first. So the whole idea is like, you just need to do enough job to have your ecosystem of marketing built out where if that client is thinking about selling, they're going to spot Chad Vaughan, they're going to spot someone else, whoever that client is for them, and they're going to talk to them. And then, you're going to be able to take them through the process with honesty and integrity and get the job done.
Absolutely.
So it's huge. And I love to see how you operate, man. I will say, like, if I can brag on Chad for a minute, every single listing that Chad does, he has done full package media with, right? And we do have a lot of agents do that, but it's not all of them. Some agents, if they have a lower end home, they'll lower their media package. And every single time I look at monthly invoices and I see Chad Vaughan, I'm always like, full package, full package, full package. And I smile. I'm like, Chad knows what's up. Like, he knows what he's doing. He's not going to like sit there. And it's true. It's like your brand. But I do think that it's truly because you believe that you're doing the best job for your client. And I can see it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'm not going to skimp on this. So it's awesome, man. I hope you have some amazing success this year. I'm looking forward to working with you in deeper scopes. And if anything you want to sign off with, Chad, where can they find you? Drop your tag. We're going to show it on screen as well, but where can they get in touch with you at?
Best places on Instagram at Chad A. Vaughan.
Chad A. Vaughan. How do they know they found your page? What's your page going to say? What's your profile picture look like?
A lot like this, with a black background.
They might be listening on Spotify. That's what I'm saying. So they might not see the video feed only.
Oh, well, you're going to see a very handsome guy with some very cool glasses. No, just Chad A. Vaughan, Orlando Realtor. And you'll see me there. You'll see me in stories, see me in the reels. If I have not posted a story in 24 hours, call the authorities.
I love that. And Chad, do you offer any mentorships to new agents?
I do, in a sense. So I do. I am always open to talk to other agents.
What I heard there, guys, if he thinks if it's worthy, which is fair, he's like, if it's someone worth investing my time into.
No, I should say my DMs are always open, and I do communicate with agents all the time. So I do have agents that ask me questions, tips, things like that, especially around social media. So I'm very open to do that. But yes, I do mentor agents that are on my team and work with them intensively and specifically. But in order to do that at a high level, I have to make sure that those people are getting their time protected. But my DMs are always open.
Yeah, I love it. One of the guests we had in the podcast, Charles Covey, and he said something which I totally understood. He was like, this guy, he makes hundreds of millions of dollars and he's very successful out in Dallas, Texas. And he was like, I have a lot of people that message me for mentorship. And he's like, I used to take the time to get on a call or meet people for lunch. He's like, I'll give them action steps to do. Then they'd meet with me a month and they've done nothing I told them to do. And then I was like, you think I'm ever going to meet with you again? He's like, why would I take my time to tell you something if you're not going to listen to it? So I can tell when you said that, you're like, I do, but not. And same with me. Not everyone is going to take your advice and value it and actually apply it. So when we have agents that call us for mentorship or even other photographers, I ask questions first. I'm like, hey, let's just get to know each other to find out if you're about that life before you start, getting information. But man, it's been a pleasure. I learned a lot actually about how you operate your business, and I see why you have the success you do. Everyone go follow this man, and I'll see you in the next episode.
Thanks for having me, man.